wanted to just acknowledge the Australian government funding. So we've had the Environment Restoration Fund to help us support these sessions this week, and the Community Environment Program, and also funding from the Port Phillip and Western Port Catchment Management Authority. So I will stop sharing my screen and introduce Lucy, who is our Project Science Officer, and she's going to talk about our Biodiversity in Schools program. So over to you, Lucy.
Thanks, Glenn. All right, good morning, everybody. Many thanks for joining me today. I'd first like to give an acknowledgement to country. The Biosphere acknowledges the Bunurong peoples of the Kulin Nation as the traditional owners of the land on which we live and work. First Nations people are the original caretakers of the land and waterways and hold the truth, the stories, and the knowledge necessary for creating a sustainable future. We'd like to pay our respect to the elders past, present, and emerging, and particularly extend that respect to any First Nations peoples who are joining us today. Sovereignty was never ceded, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. As I'm sure you're aware, Western Port is a designated UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, which means it falls under the UNESCO Man and Biosphere Programme. It is one of 727 biosphere reserves across the globe and sits across 5 local government areas, including the Mornington Peninsula, Frankston, Cardinia, City of Casey, and Bass Coast. To be eligible for the UNESCO scheme, an area has to demonstrate healthy natural ecosystems, a good ecological diversity, alongside a thriving human population. Biosphere reserves are learning places for sustainable development. The Western Port Biosphere Foundation was founded in 2003 to oversee the application of best practice in sustainable development and ecological preservation across the Western Port area. Western Port is uniquely positioned by the ocean, and much of the Biosphere Reserve Foundation's focus is on the marine environment and surrounding water catchment areas. The Western Port and Bass Coast coastline is a designated Ramsar site for migratory shorebirds, and there are 5 marine parks in the Western Port Bay area. It is a combination of all these factors that make this a truly unique place to live, and it is through our work in schools that we hope to raise awareness about this among young people. Our workshops introduce students to their local environment, biodiversity, marine ecosystems, and Indigenous flora and fauna, and we seek to inspire the conservationists and sustainability experts of the future. Over the last 4 years, the Biosphere Foundation has been developing its Biodiversity in Schools program. The Biosphere has been lucky enough to have on its team ecologists, conservationists, and ornithologists, and they have been sharing their expertise with schools. The schools involved have had workshops delivered on the UNESCO Man and Biosphere program to raise awareness of the local area and its natural value. Some schools have had incursions delivered about migratory shorebirds and the coastline's Ramsar status. These workshops have been designed to be engaging and interactive, with footage of the flight paths of some of the birds to Siberia and back, card games to help students learn about the birds, and bird watching activities around the school grounds. I'd like to share a video from these workshops used to show students the flyaway routes of the migratory birds. So it's actually a silent video. So there's no sound. Which I think makes it all the more powerful. He's even taking off. So you can see the birds here making their epic journey and stopping off along the way through Taiwan and up through China and back again. I haven't quite got there yet. I'll wait till they're back again, going back again. And there they have landed for their summer in Siberia. Seems an interesting place to choose, given how cold it still is even in summer up there. And now they're coming back down. It's quite remarkable when you see this footage. In my experience, students absolutely love looking at this, particularly when they find out that some of the birds only weigh as much as a Tim Tam. And there they are arriving back down in Western Port. So other schools have chosen to learn about the wildlife they share their grounds with, and the Biosphere team has supported this by setting up wildlife cameras, also known as camera traps, in the school grounds to monitor the movement of wildlife in the school after hours. This type of activity is a great way to show students some of the Indigenous species we don't often see, such as bandicoots and echidnas, and also to spot some problem species such as foxes and cats. The Biosphere Foundation team has sought to inspire young people to become citizen scientists by showing them how fun and often easy it is to collect data, and has also supported deeper learning through art and creative means. Last year, we collaborated with a local artist, Kate Gorringe-Smith, who worked in a number of schools facilitating student contribution to exhibitions displayed at the Mornington Peninsula Regional Gallery and Oakville Gallery. I'm now going to share with you 3 case studies from our work in schools. The first case study I'd like to introduce is one from Cooey Rup Primary in Cardinia. Ecologist and conservationist Stephen Brend carried out a number of site visits and a workshop at Cooey Rup to support the school's curiosity about what might inhabit an area of natural bushland at the bottom of the campus. Cooey Rup is situated in known southern brown bandicoot territory, but these shy nocturnal creatures are very difficult to catch a glimpse of. Stephen took a group of students to investigate the bushy area, where he taught them how to look for evidence of fauna by looking for tracks, scat, fur, and grazed vegetation. He then helped them put up a number of camera traps to monitor nighttime animal activity. The cameras were left for 3 weeks before being collected by Stephen, who then painstakingly watched hours of footage to see if anything of significance could be seen. Despite 2 of the 3 cameras failing to provide any footage, the one that did capture photos showed some interesting nighttime goings-on. Creatures caught on camera included foxes, a dog, and, most excitingly, a southern brown bandicoot. Cooey Rup Primary would like to improve the bushy habitat by removing weed species and replanting with Indigenous plants that provide better habitat for bandicoots and other native fauna, and we will support them in their conservation efforts next year. The second case study highlights the Biosphere's partnership with St Joseph's Primary School in Crib Point. We supported them in 2018 by providing cameras for a camera trapping project the grade 5s were doing as part of a biodiversity audit, and we provide annual workshops and activities as part of an innovative middle years program called The Sea is Our Best Friend. The school facilitates deep learning about the local area with regular bush and beach walks. The local beach is prime mangrove, mudflat and salt marsh habitat, and students are taught about the marine and coastal environment through a multifaceted approach, both inside and outside the classroom. A couple of years ago, the students were raising awareness of the importance of the bay through a project called My Bay, Your Bay, Our Common Home. They made puppets of migratory shorebirds from recycled materials and created YouTube videos on Woolies Beach to bring the message to the community. We supported them with incursions about the birds and the bay, including regular updates by letter from one of the birds called Red the Rednet Stint, who we were tracking by GPS tag all the way from Flinders to Siberia and back. Oh, hang on. Apologies, something just popped up in my screen. I'd like to play you one of these videos made by the 3-4 students and show you an example of one of the letters from Red to demonstrate the creativity that can materialise from environmental education.
Western Port Speaks. I'm a great knot. I fly to Siberia. I need Western Port Bay to have food. I need Western Port Bay to breed. I need Western Port Bay to live. My bay, your bay, our common home.
Thank you. And just to share with you an example of the letters sent from Red, which Stephen still writes today. So there's lots of these, but the kids just love them. So, hi, it's me again, Red, the RedNet stint. What a blast. Today I touched down in my other summer home, Western Port. When I first wrote to you, it was August the 12th, 11 weeks ago. Do you remember? Since the first letter, I've been flying and eating my way south non-stop. It seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? After all that flying down China's coast and across the water, I always love the last stint across Australia's red centre. It's dry and hot and red and reminds me that summer's coming again. Well, actually, I guess, unlike you, summer doesn't come to me, I follow it. Anyway, I scooted over Crib Point this morning, zoomed across French Island, and then touched down in Yallop Creek. And wouldn't you know it, there she was on the beach waiting for me, my love, Jed. We found a quiet little place on the beach, sat down and shared an all-you-can-eat feast of little bugs and critters from inside the mudflats. 12,000 kilometres, 284 marathons, 77 days and nights. I have no idea how many times I flapped my wings, but it feels like a few. It is so great to be back in the beautiful bay. Western Port is an internationally significant wetland, a Ramsar wetland. It's got vulnerable and rare fish, birds, vegetation, and marine critters. For us migrators, there are many different places, literally the world over, on which we rely, and Western Port is one of them. Anyway, it's been nice writing to you. Remember to look up and wave hello. Every year at this time, we are streaming back into Western Port. Oh, that reminds me. Keep an eye out for our boys, Ed and Ted. I don't know if you remember, but even though they are not even one, they left just after Jed and I and are making this epic journey from the Arctic on their own. We can't wait to see how much they've grown when they finally get here. See ya, and thanks for following my journey, Red. So we've also supported St Joe's this year in a brief interlude between lockdowns with incursions on the work of the Biosphere and migratory shorebirds, and by connecting them with Kate to be part of the Overwintering and Wall of Wings art conservation projects. So the final case study we'd like to share is the Wall of Wings and Overwintering art project. We partnered with Kate this year to facilitate a collaborative art project with students and other community groups she designed to highlight the importance of Western Port Bay for migratory shorebirds. There is enormous value in delivering messages about conservation and the environment through art-based projects and programs. While science provides the evidence and is the driver of the messages we are delivering to the community, it is often through creative means that people learn best. Kate has recorded a short video about her project to share with you.
My name is Kate Gorringe-Smith and I am a Melbourne-based artist. I run an Australia-wide environmental art project called the Overwintering Project that aims to raise awareness for migratory shorebirds and their habitat. In early 2021, I curated an Overwintering Project exhibition at the Mornington Peninsula Regional Gallery that focused especially on Western Port as internationally significant habitat for migratory shorebirds. Western Port's uniqueness is recognised through its cultural identity as the land of the Boonwurrung Bunurong people and its scientific recognition as a Ramsar site, a UN Biosphere and a BirdLife Australia key biodiversity area. To create the exhibition, I worked with local artists who took different aspects of the bay, from geographic features to threatened species, as inspiration for their artworks. Also this year, I was lucky enough to work for the Western Port Biosphere Foundation on their Biodiversity in Schools project, the purpose of which segued nicely with my work on the Mornington Peninsula Regional Gallery exhibition. The Biodiversity in Schools project was designed to engage students of all ages with the richness and significance of Western Port through science and art, first introducing students to aspects of the local environment through school incursions or site visits, and then using this new or broadened knowledge to create artworks. We worked with primary students from St Joseph's Catholic Primary School, Crib Point, and Red Hill Consolidated Primary School, and also with secondary students from Western Port Secondary College, Hastings. The students from St Joseph's created works to be part of the Wall of Wings exhibition. This was a sister exhibition to the Overwintering Project at the Mornington Peninsula Regional Gallery, held in the neighbouring Oak Hill Art Gallery. The students created life-size shorebird prints to join a gallery-wide art installation, and also joining other printed shorebirds contributed by artists from all over the world. At Red Hill Consolidated, we made eco-prints from plants in the school grounds and seaweed from the nearby shore, and talked about the needs of migratory shorebirds and their local habitat. At Western Port Secondary, we did a walk with members of the Biosphere Foundation along the Warranjini Boardwalk in Hastings, visited the Overwintering Project exhibition at the Mornington Peninsula Gallery, then made shorebird stencils and created banners to hang in the school grounds. Art is a great addition to environmental awareness programs. Facts and figures will engage some students, but for others, the making of art about what they've learned can lead them to make deep emotional connections with the subject matter. Art makes things visible. It allows us to tell stories and make things personal. It invites an emotional response. It can be done by anyone of any age and transcends language and cultural barriers. The act of dreaming up and creating an artwork engages all your senses and also allows the students both to enjoy the creation of their work and the sharing of it with their friends, family, and fellow students. My name is Orange Smith, and I am a Melbourne-based artist. I run an Australia-wide environmental art project called the Overwintering Project. My name is...
Oh, a bit of a glitch. Awesome. Okay, so what about the next couple of years? So the Biosphere Foundation is passionate about delivering environmental education that is enriching, creative and engaging, and we are looking to expand the Biodiversity in Schools program over the next couple of years. The program will be structured so that each school we engage will receive an introductory workshop about the Biosphere Foundation and the Western Port Biosphere Reserve region. They will discover what it means to be part of the UNESCO Man and Biosphere program, find out about the Ramsar Convention, the Western Port Ramsar status, migratory shorebirds, and why it is so important to protect our coastlines to support these incredible species. Schools will then be offered the opportunity to have a workshop or series of workshops delivered on topics such as biodiversity, water stewardship, or blue carbon. If a school would like a deeper experience, we are also able to facilitate projects. These might include projects to monitor wildlife and enhance the school grounds for biodiversity. We can help with activities such as, but not limited to, camera trapping, weeding and revegetation projects, building bug and bee hotels, designing and planting out wildlife-friendly gardens, and putting in frog bogs. If a school would like to focus on water and the water catchment area, we are able to guide them through the internationally recognised water stewardship process. The Biosphere Foundation has a scheme to support businesses and organisations to become water stewards through the program and is looking to expand this through schools next year. The process would enable students to learn about how precious water is, study water flowing into and through the campus, design ways to better conserve it, and think about issues of pollution and plastic at both a broad and local scale. Schools that choose this project will be awarded a water stewardship sign to be able to display on the school gates and the water stewardship logo for all school marketing and communications. As another option, we are offering the chance to learn and be part of a new project for us on blue carbon. For those of you who aren't familiar with the meaning of blue carbon, it's the term given for the capacity of the ocean to absorb and sequester carbon through its plant ecosystems, such as seagrass meadows, mangroves, and salt marshes. Western Port Bay has been identified as having huge potential in this area, and the Blue Carbon Lab at Deakin University is partnering with the Biosphere Foundation to investigate. We would like to offer schools the opportunity to learn about these valuable habitats, both ecologically and for their climate change mitigation potential. There is scope for schools to be involved in some citizen science for this project, helping to collect data and information from their local coastal environments on mangroves, for example. So in summary and to conclude, we are planning to build on and expand the Biodiversity in Schools program to reach schools across the whole Biosphere region, teach students about the Biosphere Reserve, UNESCO Man and Biosphere program, the Ramsar Convention and migratory shorebirds, and offer schools workshops on the topics of biodiversity, water stewardship and blue carbon, or participate in a facilitated project at school or local marine ecosystem for an experiential learning experience. Thank you for taking the time to tune in and listen. If you would like any further information or would like to get involved, please contact either myself or Stephen Brend on the details you can see on the slide. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lucy. That was excellent. Well done. So, yeah, any questions or comments that anyone would like to add? Hi, Neil.
Hello there. Hello there. No, that was an excellent presentation, and in fact, you're working with schools. That's tremendous. And I love the letter from the birds, so to speak. Just one little thing. There didn't appear to be a date on the letter. Now, if you have a date, that puts it in context when the bird actually lands here. So if it's in June or December, whatever the case may be, I just thought that if there's no date there, perhaps you might consider just putting in context that way.
I think you're probably right. And Neil, I probably, because I took that was Stephen Brend, who's one of our colleagues, and he's not here today. And I actually just copied and pasted it across into my presentation. There probably was a date on the letter that he put out to schools, but yes, that's a very good point. I'll make sure there are dates for sure.
All right, thank you. And one other question, if I may, with the migratory movement of the birds, are they losing some of their habitat as they go up through the journey towards Siberia and other places?
100%. There's all sorts of issues going on. In fact, I believe there's been so much development along the ports along Taiwan. They're now having to hand feed the birds, which just isn't sustainable at all. So yes, there's definitely issues with those poor migratory birds going up and down. And other countries, you know, also there's issues with people wanting to shoot them for pleasure and things like that. So there's definitely lots of education that needs to happen all the way up and back for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting you say hand feeding. As time goes by, that could be the case in some of those other countries, for argument's sake, and that's going to make it difficult, perhaps, for this migratory movement over as time goes by. And perhaps the last place will be Western Port if they can get here.
Oh, perhaps, yes. We'll just have to take that little GPS thing they have out of their own beak, so they no longer need to fly anymore. They can just stay in Western Port. I mean, you know, the winter here must be still warmer than the summer in Siberia, so there's really no need to leave.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so no more comments or questions, Tammy?
Yeah, I might ask one. Just wondering if you've worked with Resource Smart Schools before in delivering any of your stuff to other schools, or if you've heard of Resource Smart Schools.
Yeah, I have.
That's
good. I work 2 jobs now. I work for the Biosphere and I also work at St Joseph's Primary, and I'm involved with delivering the Resource Smart Schools program there. And since I've started working at the Biosphere, I've been starting to connect with the Southeast coordinator about potentially looking at a sort of connection between, if we work in the water stewardship area with schools, could we connect with the water module somehow? And again, the biodiversity in schools, can we link with their biodiversity module as well, and perhaps things ticked off along the way.
So that's the same question that I was thinking and wanting to have discussions with you about, as I'm the Resource Smart facilitator in the Bass Coast region.
Oh, great.
So in Gippsland. So obviously I would cover the Bass Coast area of the section area that you're working in. So yeah, would like to have the same conversations and thoughts about ticking off modules as well. And we also want to link the schools with environmental experts to work through those things too. So yeah, we'd definitely like to keep in touch.
Definitely, that would be
and
good.
see what we can work out.
Because we just don't want schools having to double up, and there's so much in the Resource Smart modules that needs to be done. It'd be great to at least be able to tick some parts off if they engage with the water stewardship program or the biodiversity in schools program. So yeah,
absolutely,
that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, that's really it for the Biodiversity in Schools program. But we do have another 15-minute video that's sort of, it touches on a little bit of what Lucy was talking about, and it also sort of extends into some of the other programs the Biosphere is doing. So I think David and Neil, you've seen this, and Tammy, it's up to you. If you want to watch it now, we can play it now, and if others want to move on, that's fine if you've seen it before. But yeah, we'll play that now, and then we'll end it at the end of this little presentation.
I'm happy to do that.
I might leave now, Glenn. Thank you to everybody for the presentation. It was terrific, Lucy, and we look forward to catching up with you sometime in the future.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Yeah. I might take a rain check too. I have seen it. So thank you very much. That was great.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
And good on you.
Good.
Western Port is an incredibly unique area about 75 kilometers southeast of Melbourne, containing the Mornington Peninsula, 2 large islands, French Island and Phillip Island, and a large tidal bay. The region is renowned internationally for its rich diversity of flora and fauna and for its many conservation-listed species. 2/3 of Victorian bird species are found within the bay, including 43 migratory bird species which are protected under international treaties. Its high diversity stems from its very unusual combination of unique habitat types, including mangroves, salt marshes, seagrass meadows, mudflats, and rocky coasts, all existing in close proximity to one another and linked together by natural tidal flows that circulate nutrients throughout the ecosystem. This diversity in habitats and in species gains the site international recognition as a significant wetland under the 1971 United Nations Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. The Ramsar Convention governs the conservation and the wise use of wetlands of international importance. It requires at least one of 9 criteria for significance be met for a wetland to be recognized. Western Port meets 7 of these. For example, Western Port is home to 18 threatened, endangered, or critically endangered species, including the critically endangered orange-bellied parrot, one of Australia's most endangered birds. One of only 3 migratory parrot species in the world, these birds rely on the salt marsh vegetation as overwintering habitat. Other threatened species calling Western Port home include the threatened Australian grayling, the endangered southern brown bandicoot, and the endangered fringe spider orchid. Western Port also supports dozens of different plants and animal species at critical stages of their life cycles, such as during migration, breeding, and early life, another Ramsar criteria. For example, the tidal bay serves as a winter home for migrating endangered southern right whales, while the salt marshes, mudflats, and rocky shores provide migratory retreats for birds traveling from regions as distant as Siberia, like the tiny red-necked stint. Western Port's unassuming mudflats are considered to be one of the 3 most important sites for migratory birds in Victoria. The rocky coasts support the largest Australian fur seal breeding colony in Australia, major rookeries of the little penguin, and the only Western Victorian breeding site for lifelong bonded pairs of white-bellied sea eagles. Sheltered tide pools and quiet lush meadows of seagrass act as safe nursery sites for young fish and for small marine creatures. Western Port is not just important to finned and feathered species, it has a long history of importance to humans. For at least 18,000 years before Europeans ever laid eyes on the bay, Western Port was populated by the Bunurong peoples of the Kulin Nation, in particular the Mayon Bullock clan, the Yaluk Bullock clan, and the Burinyong Bullock clan. The Bunurong peoples have deep spiritual connections with the land and sea, and the area hosts many significant meeting spots, women's and men's spots, and initiation sites. Care for the environment by the Bunurong peoples ensured the persistence of key food species such as the blackfish, which were the likely namesake of the Kuwirup swamp. Western Port's distinct biodiversity is a homage to the thousands of years of nurturing thought put into the cultivation of the region. Since European occupation, human populations have grown dramatically, and the Western Port ecosystem has been put under considerable pressure as a result of increasing development. The fertile soils surrounding the bay supported the growth of a profitable agricultural industry, and today the region is a major food bowl for the greater Melbourne area, providing vegetables, beef, lamb, chicken, dairy, and fruit. The bay also attracted heavy industry, with the Port of Hastings serving as an important link to trade routes. Some of these industries remain today, such as steel mills and a gas fractionation plant, and some do not, such as oil refineries. Urban areas grew rapidly through the 20th century, and urban growth of the Western Port region was the fastest of anywhere in Victoria in the late 90s. It accounted for 43% of residential growth across Melbourne. Along with this increasing urban, agricultural, and industrial development has come widespread vegetation clearing and habitat destruction. This has not just represented an environmental loss, but also a cultural loss, with the loss of sites precious to the Bunurong peoples, such as the now drained Kuwirup swamp. Today, Western Port's unique value is increasingly widely recognized, but many challenges still face the long-term survival of its fragile habitats. Commercial fishing was phased out in 2009, but with increasing populations and tourist activity, overfishing still poses a threat to food chains, and the ever-growing human populations continue to encroach on natural habitats. Moreover, rising sea levels and temperatures, ocean acidification, and altered weather patterns as a result of changing climates all threaten the delicate balance of habitats within the Western Port ecosystem. There are many reasons that the loss of Western Port's unique habitats would be a blow to humans and nature alike. As much as Western Port is important in an environmental sense, its natural habitats still support our human societies, as they have for thousands of years. Agricultural industries continue to rely on healthy soils and water cycles, and visitors continue to be delighted by its natural wonders, like the Phillip Island Penguin Parade and the iconic beaches frequented by visitors in the summer. Protecting Western Port's ecosystems is therefore just as important to us as it is to the fishes, seals, and birds. So how do we go about balancing the protection of Western Port's natural habitats with the livelihoods of the people that call this place home? In 2003, the local communities in Western Port embarked on a journey to build a stronger partnership between man and nature through the creation of the internationally recognized Western Port Biosphere. The biosphere plays an important role in planning for a sustainable environment while protecting the livelihoods and economy that depend on Western Port's industry. So what exactly is a biosphere? Biospheres are part of UNESCO's Man and the Biosphere program, and the Western Port Biosphere is one of 4 UNESCO biospheres in Australia. The Biosphere program aims to conserve biodiversity while at the same time supporting people to live and work as sustainably as possible within their environment. UNESCO, the science branch of the United Nations, established the Biosphere program in the 1960s as a way to deal with human-environmental interactions. It was born from UNESCO's collaborations with international non-governmental organizations after recognizing the need for a program that could focus on regions where traditional human exclusion-style conservation was not feasible. The program would create a global community of sites called biospheres, which would serve as test places for creating innovative local solutions to global problems of balancing human and environmental needs. These test places are very different from a national park or a conservation reserve, where human activities are highly restricted. In fact, these biospheres have entire communities of humans living inside of them. There are currently 714 UNESCO biospheres across 129 countries, with over 250 million people living inside their boundaries. Thus, the primary function of a biosphere cannot stop at just the conservation of species. It must also foster sustainable economic and human development, and must provide scientific and technical support to promote education, training, and research. This is what makes the biosphere model so unique. It recognizes that within our homes there can be a patchwork of human and environmental priorities which can still find balance. The Mornington Peninsula and Western Port Biosphere Foundation was designated by UNESCO in 2002 and held its first meeting in 2003. Trading as the Western Port Biosphere, its boundary takes in all of Mornington Peninsula Shire, plus parts of 4 other local government areas, including the shires of Bass Coast and Cardinia Shire, and the cities of Casey and Frankston. Today, the Foundation is governed by an independent skills-based board with positions reserved for a representative of Western Port's traditional owners and a nominee representing the 5 councils. The board is supported by several committees and a small team of part-time staff. Under an MOU, the 5 local councils provide funding that contributes to the Foundation's operational costs. Project-specific and core funding is also sought and gratefully received from other sources, including state and federal governments, philanthropic groups, and sponsors. The biosphere is subject to periodic reviews with UNESCO to demonstrate continuing benefits to both the environment and to a sustainable economy through projects that build win-wins between humans and nature. To undertake these projects, the biosphere assembles diverse teams of partners, representing environmental, social, and economic interests, who together build a shared vision for a healthy and thriving home. Some of the biosphere's partners include the Port Phillip Western Port Catchment Management Authority, the Willam Moraine Aboriginal Association, Parks Victoria, Melbourne Water, local schools, and local businesses such as farms and campgrounds. The biosphere's goal is to create win-wins between environmental, social, and economic goals, and it undertakes a range of projects that can deliver simultaneous improvements for natural spaces as well as local business and community. 3 examples of biosphere projects building such win-wins are the Water Stewardship Program, the Biodiversity in Schools Program, and the Protecting Ramsar Values Program. The Water Stewardship Program is all about working with individual water users to create a united program to address water quality issues present within the broader environment. The program fosters collaboration between many stakeholders, such as the community, water agencies, and industries. There are a vast range of industries that have adopted the program, including chicken processors, horticultural farms, plant nurseries, livestock producers, schools, campsites, golf courses, steelmakers, and more. The program facilitates responsible water management practices, such as increasing reuse of water on site, eliminating the release of excess nutrients into waterways, revegetating riparian areas, and reducing erosion damage. The benefits of these actions are not just restricted to the environment. Healthier catchments contribute to improved water quality and future water supplies for the community, and improvements in water use efficiency provides financial benefits to businesses by mitigating the impact of volatile water prices and reducing damage to soils caused by erosion. One of our greatest tools for encouraging care and conservation of our habitats is education. Over the last 3 years, the Biosphere Reserve Foundation has been bringing to light the incredible Western Port Bay to schools in the region through a fun and interactive program that teaches students about the ecology and biodiversity all around them. Students learn about what it means to live in a UNESCO World Biosphere Reserve, the Ramsar Convention, and the importance of Western Port Bay for migratory shorebirds. The program also facilitates species monitoring projects on school grounds through camera tracking, catching everything from foxes to brown bandicoots on film. Western Port is listed under the United Nations Ramsar Convention as a wetland of international importance. As previously mentioned, this means that Western Port is one of 12 Victorian wetlands recognized as biodiversity hotspots. The Ramsar Values Project helps educate the community about the significance of Western Port. Notably, that Western Port supports an abundant and diverse range of aquatic species and water birds that may be endangered, threatened, or experiencing a critical life stage. Balancing the Ramsar values with the needs of the community is a key challenge. Recreational fishers are the single largest users of the bay. The Victorian Fisheries Authority sets catch limits based on scientific advice, but there has generally been limited engagement with the fishing community to understand their point of view. Thus, the Protecting Ramsar Values Project aims to bridge that gap by working with the local community to provide education and incentives that promote best practices, like observing catch limits, avoiding bait pumping, going slow near roosting and feeding birds, taking care not to damage reefs when anchoring, and checking, cleaning, and drying your boat to prevent the spread of marine pests. When done mindfully, recreational fishing doesn't need to come at a cost to the environment, maintaining both a healthy environment and a happy community. Western Port Biosphere is just as passionate about our community as it is our environment. We would love to hear your stories, your passions, and your ideas. There are plenty of ways to engage with our biosphere. We are always looking for volunteers to help with our projects. You can help us build our photo libraries to share the beauty of our region, or you can log records of Western Port's diverse species through our iNaturalist project. We are always looking for businesses and landholders to join the Water Stewardship Program for support in making water-related improvements to your property, and we are always looking for schools to join our Biodiversity Program to enrich curriculums with local knowledge and care. We have a Facebook page and a website, and you can contact us at info@biosphere.org.au. We can't wait to work together with you for the benefit of our diverse communities and our beautiful, unique environment.
Very good. Okay.